G'day folks. I thought I'd just do a quick review on the Huion GT-220 version 2. Bit excited about this recent purchase, and when looking online I didn't find a whole lot about it. There was a few good reviews, one by Jazza that was pretty informative and goes into more of the technical aspects of the monitor, and from a very experienced user there, so you might want to check those out as well. But it's always good to get varying opinions. So very quickly, my reasons for buying the tablet. I've been using a Intuos Pro for quite some time, a Wacom tablet, and have really enjoyed using that. But with that particular device, you are drawing on the tablet but looking at your screen. And with the GT-220, you draw on the screen, which is a different experience. And you see it a lot in a lot of the tutorials and things on YouTube, and it was quite intriguing to see what that would be like. And I didn't think I'd get a chance given the price of the Wacom display tablets. The equivalent size to the Huion in a Wacom, or roughly equivalent size, is more than twice the price. So it, for me as a hobbyist, it just couldn't really be justified. I mainly dabble in digital painting and design, and I use Photoshop, Sketchbook Pro, and Clip Studio Paint are my main sort of software. I'm no expert at any of those softwares, but you'll probably see that shortly in my when I demonstrate the tablet. But my purchasing experience was pretty good. I bought the product from a company in Australia called Hinterfield. I believe they're in the eastern states, so I'm in Western Australia, so on the other side of the country. It was $937 delivered via Australia Post. The delivery process was a little bit anxious, as Australia Post, I believe, didn't really update the tracking of the parcel very often. It went from being I think the message read intention to send, or something along those lines, that the merchant had intended to send the product, but it didn't sort of state that they'd really received it. And then the next advice was that it had arrived in Western Australia. So I'm not too sure, but I sort of feel that was more of an Australia Post issue than the company that I bought it from. The parcel arrived very well packaged, and I've got some pictures here to show you. So this is basically how it arrived. It was a very exciting day, I have to say. It was in like a wax paper, I suppose, and taped up. Within that wax paper was another layer of black plastic that you might see a little bit of just here. I took photos of these little tears in the paper. Wasn't surprised to see tears in the paper, given that it's come all the way across the country. But I thought I'd take photos of them just for my own protection. Only a few little nicks in the paper, but nothing pierced the plastic inside that paper. Inside that black plastic, which I don't have a photo of, but was this extra packaging, like I guess like bubble wrap on steroids. A pretty amazing packaging, really, and it sort of shows the effort that the guys that sent it went to make sure the product was protected inside. It also had this MDF, two pieces of this, one on either side, just to prevent the box being pierced or the screen being pierced should something fall on it, I guess. I don't have a picture of the actual display box, but that was inside this bubble packaging. I got the monitor out pretty quickly and got the stand on pretty quickly. A little bit of an issue with two of the screw holes, just with their placement. It was a little bit difficult to get the screws into the holes on the stand so that you could attach it to the back of the monitor. Just the mechanism was slightly in the way, but I was able to get that in. It only took a few minutes. They provide a little screwdriver to do the job of attaching the stand. This is basically the contents that came in the parcel or in the box. There's a kettle lead for the power supply here, which connects to the back of the monitor. A USB, sort of a standard plug to a square one, a bit like you'd have in your printer, I guess. This end going into the monitor. This is a little USB charger for the pen. The pen I charged overnight and I haven't charged it since in 2 weeks, so I'm getting a lot of use out of it. This is the stand. I'll show you that again in a moment. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a moment. This is the driver's disc. There's two booklets, a Windows booklet just to help with installation, and this is the back of the Mac equivalent. There is an HDMI cable provided, and also I think they're called a VGA cable, which I had no use for. The HDMI was a bit of an issue with my computer. I'm on an iMac, so I had to buy another cable to attach that, but that was simple process. I've heard of people getting adapters and things like that, but I didn't do that. I simply bought another HDMI to Thunderbolt Mini, I think they're called. I'll show you that in just a moment. There's also this little thank you card that comes with some website information and support numbers and things like that on there. So this is the back of my Mac, and this is the connection I used. So I believe they're called Thunderbolt Mini, I'm not too sure, but I had an HDMI to one of these. But if you check at your computer shop and I'd take the cabling, let them know what type of computer you've got, I'm sure you'd be able to find the right monitor, the right connection. This was just something I did with the stand. The leads come out the bottom of the monitor, and they're so they're coming down like this, and it's a little bit of a dodgy place to place them, I have to say. Coming straight out one of the back corners would have been possibly a better option. I threaded them through here. Hopefully it's not going to guillotine them off, but I think it just helps to keep them tidy and out of the way of things when I'm adjusting the monitor up and down. The mechanism seems to work really well. I tend to have it in one place for most of the time, and yeah, I've had no problem with that. So here is the pen holder with the pen on it. A lot of people comment on the pen. To be really honest, I've been using it for 2 weeks now, and I don't really notice a difference between it and the Wacom pen. I know that it's lighter, only because people have said that, but once you've been using it for a little while, you don't notice that. I think the stand is a little bit of a failure in design, really. It would be better to have it more similar to the Wacom one where the pen stands in it, as this just has a tendency to get knocked off, and it's difficult to sort of place on there securely. But that's just a minor thing, to be honest. It's not a real issue. The placement of these buttons, I know people have commented on before, and I tend to agree it's not the best placement, but they're not the sort of buttons you're going to go to all the time. I've adjusted the brightness of my screen and brought it quite low. To access these buttons, you sort of have to lay your hand flat on the back of the table. As you can imagine, it's a little bit tricky, but again, a minor discomfort given the price of this tablet and what it can do. So the setup was pretty straightforward. I didn't have a great deal of issue. I made sure I'd remove the Wacom drivers before I began. I installed the Huion drivers and then connected the USB in that order. I have to confess, I was in hope that it might operate just with the USB, but yes, I was wrong. You do need the HDMI, and once I got the right cable for that, I didn't have any problems. It started up straight away and was working fine. There is a screen protector on the monitor that it comes with, and I haven't removed that. I guess before I did this review I should have tried it without it, but I quite like it. Apparently it reduces the glare, and people have talked about getting headaches from working these sorts of monitors, and that just sort of softens that, and it's quite a nice surface to draw on, which is what I like. I guess I will try using just drawing on the glass at some point, and maybe I'll update and get back to you on that and let you know how it goes. But so using it with the software, I'll just give a little demo. Photoshop was the first I used. I'm actually in Photoshop, sorry. And it seemed to work, whoopsie, straight out of the box. I could get thin and thicker lines pretty consistently. And I was really happy. As soon as I saw that, a little cheer came out. I then had a quick dabble in Clip Studio Paint, and similar sort of results there as well. Obviously things are going to vary depending on your settings, on your brush sizes and things like that, but yeah, it was fairly fine, I think, in Clip Studio Paint as well. I then went to Sketchbook Pro, and I had a few issues with this. You could once again get thick and thin line, but this sort of thing, when you do a quick stroke, was quite consistent and obviously unusable. So I went to the tablet drivers and tried different settings with this, and eventually just took the sensitivity right down, and there I was able to get dots on the end. No, that's not what I was able to do. I'll try that again. I don't know if that's going down. That's better. You do get this, you know, these sorts of things happening, which are really annoying if you're working, you know, in that particular program. If you start getting that sort of thing a lot, it would be an issue. But I think it's more like when I try to do a very light stroke, and I think really what you would more likely do is bring your brush size down to something like that. If you're going to work like that, you're not going to be trying to do a bunch of thin strokes and have the brush set to a great big thick brush. So, you know, it's really, I think the issues I'm having with it are more issues with my own abilities. So, but the actual tablet itself, I think, is fine, you know. You can get thick and thin lines, which is what I want to be able to do. I find that the cursor is pretty accurate. A lot of people have said that it's not, and I can't really see that. I know when you're down at the bottom of the screen, sometimes, I'll just take this off for a second. Although that seems to be pretty fine. You won't be able to see this obviously, but the alignment of the pen to the cursor, I'd say my pen's about there for that dot. At the bottom, it's smack on. So there is, I guess this is what people are calling parallax. A little bit of that. I think it tends to be more with how the software is calibrated. Or as it says here, calibrated, calibration. I think that could be remedied using the, I've not used this before, you find something new. I'm not sure what that is, but in the calibration of the pen. So when you do that, I'm not going to do it now, but it gives you these X's to click on in the corners and midpoints of your screen, and you sort of have to click on each one. And I think if you spend the time to do that, it's not going to be a great problem, that parallaxing. And some people have said they've had to do it every day and all this sort of stuff. I find that it's the same. The way I left it the day before, it's going to be the same the day after. But look, like I say, I'm no expert with any of this software, so you probably have to experiment yourself. And I did see a software available. I guess it's like a plugin that helps with this, and one of the other reviewers, if I can find it, I'll put a link in the at the bottom of this video. But it's he does suggest a plugin, I think it is, that helps with the drivers, and he says he looks like a professional, unlike me, but he seems to be having good results with that. So there's always that sort of thing available if you're frustrated at all with it. The downsides of the tablet, well, it doesn't have hotkeys, which most of you would know by now, I'm sure. I don't particularly miss that. In fact, I'm quite enjoying learning to use my keyboard shortcuts for each software. I do miss my scroll wheel, I have to say. I did like sort of keeping one hand on that as I worked, but each software is different how it handles scrolling and or zooming and things like that. So yeah, you could look into that and for each particular software, or the software that you use. But to be honest, I'm not really missing the hotkeys that much. I didn't use them a great deal. Mainly just the wheel for zooming in and out and things like that. But all the other actions you can control with your keyboard and the monitor. So it's a small price to pay, I think. You know, it's just an adjustment in learning different techniques, I suppose. look, I'm starting to ramble, so I'll wrap it up there. I hope this has been helpful. More of an amateur perspective, I guess, on the experience. And look, I'm really overall really happy with this tablet. I certainly am preferring to use this over my Intuos, although that was a great tablet, and I certainly see the benefits of the drivers with the Wacom products. But this is I feel like I've made a step up, and at a fairly reasonable price. The price being the big selling point. As I say, the equivalent in a Wacom display is a lot more. I think it's 2.5 times as much in Australia. So yeah, it's a pretty cheap way of getting this experience, and a really nice tablet. So I will say before I go, a lot of people have commented on the heat. I haven't felt, and I've been looking for it, but have not felt any hot spots on this tablet. So I'm hoping that that's something that Huion have remedied with version 2. So yeah, that's another plus. We don't have to worry about it anymore. But look, good luck with your research, as I had to do a lot myself, and I'm sure you will as well. Check out Jazz's videos on the Huion. They're very informative, and certainly from a more professional perspective. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.